Welcome to Detoxicity, a podcast that aims to reframe the narrative around masculinity by way of sharing experiences and stories. If you're looking for one of those alpha male podcasts that isn't centered around things like inclusivity and vulnerability, you are in the wrong place. Or maybe you're in the right place if you recognize that the Joe Rogans and the Red Pills of the world shouldn't be the norm. Anyway, I'm Mike Joseph, I host and produce this show, and I'm happy you're here. We are closing in on 5 years of this podcast, and I appreciate all the support I've received and would love to thank everyone who's been a guest now and in the future for allowing yourselves this space to share your story. If you'd like to know more about the guests, I suggest following them on social media. I usually mention where you can find them at the end of each episode. You can follow me on Instagram at DetoxPodGuy. You can request a free coaching consultation from me at mike-joseph.com. And you can support Detoxicity by spreading the word to friends, by liking and commenting on whatever platform you're using to listen, or by becoming a patron. Go to patreon.com/detoxicitypod and subscribe for as little as $3 a month, and you will get early access to episodes. I'll even send you a cool DetoxPod fridge magnet. Thank you for listening, and enjoy this latest episode. So one of the reasons I like having repeat guests on the show is you get to sort of chart their progress, right? Chart their transformation. So this is the third time I am having songwriter and performer YawnyBlew on the show. The first time, Yawny was based in LA and he was Grammy nominated. Well, still is. They can't take that from you. He was actively working as a songwriter in the LA music scene and trying to kind of carve his niche and get work. And the second time we talked, he was sort of taking an extended vacation from LA and going on a little bit of a Kerouac style road trip and trying to like find himself a little bit. Now, third time, he has left LA. He is back at his home base of New York City, which is great because I've gotten to hang out with him in person a few times. And he is sort of moving into the next phase of his life. He is working for a large tech corporation whose name you probably know. You may even see a post about it on a site that tech corporation owns. But he's still writing songs. He's making music. He is flowering as an artist and flowering as a human. And this conversation is really kind of about where he's at now in a stable relationship, ready to sort of talk about that phase of his life, ready to talk about what happened during that road trip that he took and how that gave him some new life insights and some new career insights, how he's sort of moving out of the rat race of songwriting and the competition of it all in the LA scene and working more from a place of focusing on himself and also mentoring young creatives, particularly young queer creatives, young black queer creatives, and trying to give them a better experience than he has had. Because, right, the point of being in this world, I think one of the points of being in this world is leaving the place better than it was when you got here so that the next people that come after you don't have to put up with the same shit that you did, right? Anyway, we talk about all that stuff over the course of this conversation. It is great to have him back for a third time. Everybody, this is YawnyBlew.
My name is YawnyBlew. I'm an artist, A&R, and thought leader, which is a title that you gave me on one of our calls. So yeah,
Yeah.
those are my three go-tos these days, the three that feel the most relevant.
How does thought leader feel on you? Like when you say that, what do you feel inside?
Responsible.
I
No,
like that.
I do feel responsible, but I feel responsible about what I say, what I put out in the world, but also it encourages me to just be more vocal as well. So I think that's where the word responsible comes up. Definitely encourages me to be more vocal. I'm gonna close my windows real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
All right. So last time you and I spoke for the podcast, you were living in LA and you were about to go on a trip. And I don't remember the specifics of that trip, but you were like, this is going to be some soul searching. Like, I'm taking some reassessment time
Yeah.
and leaving LA. So, what has happened since then?
A lot. So me and my partner left LA. We left all our stuff behind, moved, put everything in storage, and we drove from LA up through to Vancouver. And we made stops at Arizona. Well, we did Joshua Tree, Arizona, Vegas, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle. And the goal was just to, like, have a summer trip, but also disconnect from LA, which is he had been there 13 years. I've been there 7, and get inspired, create. We did a podcast while we were on the trip. We never put it out, but every stop we did an episode, and it was cool. I spent most of the trip applying for jobs, applying for grants, trying to put things in order so that I could have something else, like some kind of alternative to what I was doing, which up until then was just songwriting and a little
Hmm.
bit of podcasting, but it was pretty much songwriting, some artist work, and then some podcasting. And by the end of that trip, I had gotten accepted to GLAAD's Black Queer Creative Summit in LA. And on the flight to that summit, I got a call to interview for Meta. So the trip was successful. I
Clearly,
came out of it with some cool stuff.
clearly, outside of a professional perspective, because you went on a trip and you came back with a job. Were there any realizations or did you have any epiphanies when you were on the road?
A lot of that happened before I went on the road. I think going on the road was a realization of I need a shift, I need a change. And I think being on the road just gave me a lot of space, made me feel very creative. I think it made me feel more independent as a creative because up until then I was used to recording in studios and music for something always. And it was the first time that I spent 3 months just making music for myself, whether it was a full song or not, you know, just ideas that felt more like journal entries. So yeah, I
Mm,
think the trip was just a way to almost like dump a lot of stuff, but no real epiphanies. I think just leaving was the epiphany.
right. What was
When I
your
spoke to you
favorite?
like the week before, like, I remember
You were
sitting in the
about to
box
hit the
room.
road. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You were very
Yeah.
close to leaving. What
Hmm.
was your favorite place out of the places that you visited during that trip?
Right now, Vancouver comes to mind because it was the furthest up that we went, and it felt like a sense of completion being there
Mm,
because that was the furthest up that I thought I would go. And they had a really cool beach that was like right out of, like, you come down the hill and it was like the woods were behind you, but the beach was there. So I don't know, those memories are very fond for me of just being on the beach in the woods in Canada. I'm just like, oh, what the fuck? This is my life. Yeah.
and then you ended up back on the East Coast.
Yeah, so like I said, I put everything in storage, so I had no home. So when Meta called, they were like, "Cool, we like you." Well, the process took about a month and a half, but by the end of it, they were like, "We like you. With this role, you have to pick a city." And it was just easier for me to stay here because my mom was here and I had a place to crash versus like, let me go back to LA and find an apartment and do all of that. So that kind of is what prompted it. And I felt ready for the East Coast, I think. I don't know, it felt like a fresh start. Like I didn't feel like I was coming back as much as like kind of getting a new version of New York as an adult with a job and some more sense of what my career is. So yeah, Meta gave me the chance to settle back in New York in a real way that I wouldn't have any other way. So yeah.
And it's really interesting that you frame it as new city, new you kind of.
Hmm.
Even if it's a city that you know and you grew up here. You grew up between here and I want to say Virginia or something like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. See, memory's not all gone.
There you go. Taking
um,
your vitamin.
yes, exactly. But you were away for 7 years, and a lot can happen. I mean, I feel like a lot happens to everybody in 7 years, and they were 7 pivotal years for you. So even though some of the buildings might look the same, and you know how to take the train and all that stuff, it probably does feel like you live in a different city because you're a
Yeah.
different person.
And too, being here, New York post COVID is a different city just in
That is
general.
correct. That is
Felt like a brand new city. And my partner, he's from Houston, so it was a new city for him. So when we decided to move here and he relocated here, seeing it through his eyes, like if it didn't already feel like a new city, experiencing Times Square for the first time, or the Village, or Penn Station, was like, oh, this really isn't normal for people that aren't from here.
not at all. So creatively, you've kind of expanded out. You've been doing different stuff. I get your Substack every week, and it feels like you are constantly booked and busy.
Ah, busy, so much booked.
Yeah, I mean, y-
Implies that I'm being paid for all of this.
fair,
Soon come.
fair, fair. the inspiration that's forming the basis for all of this new material that you're making, where's that coming from?
But when you asked if there was like an epiphany, I think the real epiphany for me was accepting that my path in music was going to look different and feel different if I wanted it to. I was tired of the rat race of songwriting stuff. So in making that pivot and creating other lanes for myself and other opportunities and finding new worlds and new ways to make money from my art and everything like that and my skill set, my job now, I mean, I'm pretty much working on music all day. I A&R, I do music development, I'm doing mixing. I'm getting to utilize all of my skills in a real way and getting compensated in a real way. So to answer your question, the music now is really almost being inspired by the freedom of the music having no pressure. So now that there's no pressure on the music, I don't care about like I really need to write a song for sync, or I really would love a hit record, or I really would love for this song to hit 100 million streams so I can get a bunch of money. I do still want all of that, but I don't go into the songs wanting that anymore. So it's freed up a lot of space for me to sometimes just talk about things that feel a lot more nuanced, but really, really important to me.
Right. And as you're talking, I'm thinking, and I'm like, oh, having a 9 to 5 really does free creative people up sometimes to lean more into their creativity. Because I think of this podcast and how desperate would I be to get views and monetize this more than it's monetized now if I didn't have the safety net of a 9 to 5 job with insurance and all that other stuff. I do think the creativity comes from a more authentic place when you're not trying to hit a formula that's going to make you money.
Yeah. And like I said, the blessing has been that, like, because I've always found good jobs, but they've always been outside of the music industry. I was in banking for a long time where I find different things. But to literally punch in every day and go over submissions and then send in notes and then put together a comm strategy for like how are we going to promote songs for today I did a comm strategy for Star Wars Day. I'm like, how
Wow.
fun is that? Like I had
Wow.
to just comb through music and find cinematic space theme music to put together a mailing list to send to people for May 4th. That's fun. So when I come home, it's like I'm so charged up from that. I want to write a song. I want to record an idea. I want to reach out to a friend I haven't wrote a song with in a while. And like, hey, let's do a session. So that's been a lot of fun, and I enjoy being very vocal about that because I think the idea has always been like sleep on floors, scrub toilets at the studio, and wait till you get your big break. And bless everybody who does that. But I'm like, oh, I'm on this side of it, and I'm working with world class musicians every day that punch in and punch out. This is a lot of fun. It's inspiring me. It's allowing me to dig into some real shit with my music that I wasn't before. Because I'm like, oh, I could just say whatever the hell I want now because the lights are on. They're not gonna
Right.
go out.
Right. Right. Do you think that having the safety net that you have now has allowed you to explore? I mean, I'm kind of asking a question you pretty much just answered, but to explore things that are more personal to you that you wouldn't have felt necessarily safe writing about before. I don't know if safe is the right word, but
Yeah,
felt
no, yeah,
topics that you don't think would be commercial coming out of somebody else's mouth, or even coming out
yeah.
of your mouth if you were basing your income on whatever those songs did.
For sure. Things that I feel comfortable talking about now, even unpacking things that I've gone through that I wouldn't have unpacked before because, obviously you can't talk about certain things when you're trying to be a successful songwriter. You don't want to talk about the producer that ghosted you or fucking how the artist made you feel or just even the nature of creating friendships in the music industry is so fickle. Like there are people that I would spend every day with and I thought were really my friends who I don't even speak to anymore because I'm not in their face. So I've been able to write about stuff like that. And the cool thing was because there was no pressure to release it, I was able to just sit with a lot of it and
Mm.
decide like, oh, I do want to put this out, or that's terrible. I'll never put that out. Or I've allotted a process now that I didn't always have.
That's dope. It's funny, as you were talking, I'm thinking back to, I think it might have been our second conversation that we recorded, and we got a little deep into the connections that you had made while you were in LA writing, and how, it's a bunch of dudes, and you felt like they weren't being their full vulnerable selves around you, and maybe there was a little bit of vice versa there. I'm wondering if are these the friendships that since you've moved, you don't hear from these folks anymore?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, do you think that's like an out of sight, out of mind thing, or do you think it's like, okay, this dude can't help me no more, so
I think I think both. I think with time and space away from it, I've learned to really accept that I wouldn't be here if all those things didn't happen. So I think my only real reflection on it now is all of that was supposed to happen, and I'm glad that it did. But yeah, I do think it's definitely out of sight, out of mind. And even though it took me a while to vocalize that I was ready to move forward from things, I think physically and energetically, I was communicating that a lot longer than I probably want to admit. And I think people were feeling like, you got to go. You hate this.
right,
You're not showing up. You're not playing along. You don't need to be here. And I was just like, no, I want this so bad. But it all happened for a reason. So yeah, I'm grateful. I'm really grateful. Like, looking back, I'm like, man, I wouldn't have gone on that trip. I wouldn't have started putting myself out there. If things had gone the way that I wanted, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to get creative in my approach to pursuing my dreams. I would have continued to try to find an artist to give me a hit record, and I don't know what that path would have been, but this is fire. I'm really enjoying this path, so I'm like, fuck it. Out of sight, out of mind for
right,
me.
right, right. Yeah, I guess that goes two ways. You know what I'm saying? So I've worked in the music industry for a long time. I've worked in the industry almost as long as you've been alive. And the music industry that I grew up following and being a part of is not the same music industry that exists now.
Hmm.
It's much more of a creator market than it is an executive market. Obviously, streaming and technology, and people aren't paying for studio time anymore. Like all of these things kind of factor in. I mean, you're not Gen Z, so you have a little bit of old school reference.
Hmm.
How do you feel about the state of music right now?
Mm. I mean, I'm grateful to be where I'm at. Like when you said that it's a creator's market versus an executive market, what came to mind for me is me being in the role that I'm in A&Ring, doing music development, but also still being a full-time artist. I don't think I would have been allowed to do that 10 years ago. I think it definitely would have been frowned upon or just conflict of interest. And being from that generation, having some of that old school downloading, I definitely came into the role initially and was like, do I need to stop making music? Like, will the artists take me serious if they know I'm releasing music? And I still kind of go through it sometimes because, again, old school mentality, but also just trying to be very conscious of my approach and making sure that I'm present for what I'm doing. So when I am developing music for people, it's not like, well, I would have done this, or I wish, really being intentional, guiding songs where they need to be for work and then doing my stuff independently. But yeah, the fact that I'm able to do it and exist in the space and nobody really cares but me, it's like, oh, that's beautiful to me because 10 years ago, I would have wanted my A&R to be somebody that at least touched an instrument. Like, shit, 9 times out of 10, a lot of the A&Rs weren't fucking like, and especially if you were in a hood studio in fucking Brooklyn, your A&R is like just the best drug dealer that was in the neighborhood.
Yeah, pretty much.
They were great hustlers, obviously, and incredible at finding money and finding opportunities. But as far as
Right.
creating music, no skill set. So I'm honored to be a part of that legacy of the baby faces and Pharrells and people who are artists, but also executives and Rick Rubin, Benny Blanco. Those are people I'm realizing more and more I look up to, especially now because I'm like, I feel the most empowered ever to make music, but I also feel the most qualified I've ever been to guide other people in making music. So I should fully be allowed to do both, and I am being allowed to do both, and that's an honor. So, long answer to your question. I think now's the best time ever to be an artist. There's so much information out there. I think artists now have to just always remember that the same creativity that you put into making your music, making your art, put it into marketing yourself, put it into building your brand, put it into building your content. But there is a through line, and it's now's the best time ever to really do this, and especially because there's so much shit music out. So now's the best time ever to do this and really care about quality and cut through. So yeah, I think it's a great time.
How do you, as an art, and you can answer this from an artist perspective or an A&R perspective, cut through some of that bullshit, right? Because I mean, look, I don't want to sound like the old dude in the room, but the music I grew up listening to isn't the same type of music that's popular now. And a lot of what's popular now is kind of like jingle stuff, is stuff that you can make the TikTok dance to. there's not really a lot behind it. I mean, I'm definitely someone who has always been a lyrics person, and again, you can say it. If I'm old and out of touch, be like, Mike, you old and out of touch. I miss love songs. I miss songs with substance. And a lot of what I see on a commercial level, particularly when it comes to black music, or every music is black music, when it comes to hip hop and R&B specifically,
Hmm.
it's like drugs, fucking without emotion, guns.
Yeah.
And I listened to hardcore hip hop when I was a young person. There's a space for it, but it can't be all there is. There's got to be balance. And right now, at least commercially speaking, when it comes to the stuff that's hitting the top 40 or whatever it is, it doesn't feel like there's much balance.
Hmm.
I'm just kind of wondering, again, whether it's as a musician or as an A&R person, where do you see this headed? And what are your feelings on what feels like a drop in the quality content of the stuff that's like it being consumed at a top level?
Hmm. I think from both aspects, I have really empowered myself in recent years to focus on my little corner of the world because it is so wide open and there's so much access for people to create. I think that we can afford to do that now. I think when I was younger and even when I was songwriting and I just wanted it so bad and I would get so frustrated with what was out, I wanted to change it on a macro level and still do. But I think on this side of it, I understand A, that I only have control over what I create. I only have influence over the people that I create with. And B, I am a person who does value music that has a little bit more of a message to it. And I've been able to find it. Like Cleo Soul had 3 nights sold out at Radio
Radio
City,
City. Yep.
talking about God and her child and healing trauma. Like 3 nights sold out. I took my mom to that show that she's still thanking me months later.
That's so dope.
So there are things out there. You have to look for them. You have to find them. And then if we are people who are empowered to be tastemakers, pour into that. So for me, again, with the people that I develop with, the music that I'm developing at Meta is going directly into our family of apps and it's being used for monetization. So they're not jingles in the sense of how they were created, but in the sense of how they're used. A lot of times they are just background music or, like you said, a jingle or something like that. But even with that, I still try to pour into the artists that I work with and just encourage them to be intentional. I have a really great artist that I work with out here in Jersey named Ella, who is a queer artist, and I was just like, let's see what we can come up with for Pride. And she's like, oh, I'll see. And then she ended up coming up with this really great song that was like, she was really proud of it. And I was like, I'm excited to put this in the app and see how people utilize it. And, when I came on board, she was like literally doing jingles. She was doing just piano holiday music. And I was like, what else do you do? And she sent me all this Emojin Heap, vocal, crazy stuff. And I was like, let's do more of that. And I'm seeing in every month more enthusiasm in her creating her music and more excitement because I'm not just feeding her with metrics of like, hey, that Christmas song did really well. I need 10 more. I'm like, what do you like to do? What are you feeling? What are you listening to? So that's my small contribution to making this better. If I can encourage her to really make really cool avant-garde pop vocal a cappella stuff that hits this little corner of Instagram, that's my contribution. And then,
Right.
hopefully that trickles down to other people and same with my own stuff. And I think going back to your question of how the music industry's changed, I think that's the benefit of it is if you don't want to listen to that, you really don't have to. Like I made a new TikTok the other day and I've had to retrain my algorithm and I was like, oh, you literally tell this thing what you want. It's giving you what you want. So if you don't want to see that, you don't have to see it.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. Going back to your previous life in LA, because this has been sitting in my head for a minute. Have you been following the Kerry Hilson stuff the last
yeah,
couple weeks?
yep,
Do you have thoughts about that?
of course I do. I will preface this by saying Carrie Hilson was one of my favorite artists as a teenager, for
Okay.
sure.
Has it been?
Um,
Damn, making me feel old, man.
actually related. There was a post that said songs that are legally allowed to drink now. So it was basically saying songs that turned 21, and it was like
Right.
Confessions, fucking like shit where I'm just like that just came out.
Hey,
It's like wow,
I
Confessions
don't.
is 21 years
I
old.
don't even want to think about that.
Makes your brain hurt. Makes your brain hurt. But yeah, so Carrie, Fauntleroy, The Dream were early examples. Neo, for me, of people that were songwriters and artists and thriving in both. So I love Carrie Hilson. I distinctly remember around that time her being in Usher's video for Love in This Club. and
Mm-hmm.
then writing a version of the remix and then being left off the remix for Beyonce. So I thought a lot of that was really coming from her, and she really felt the way. But hearing her now say that it was a song that she was forced to record and shit, it definitely sounds like LA songwriting industry bullshit. It sounds like people who think they know better, people who've decided that certain things work, where there's drama or whatever the fuck, and just pitting women against each other. That's so LA. I remember being asked not to invite multiple women to sessions because I guess their periods would sink and the world would end. I don't
Oh
fucking know.
my God.
Uh,
And I
but
know you're being a little facetious at least, but I definitely get it.
yeah, no, the Carrie shit is interesting. Like I said, it brought up a lot for me because, like I said, I remember at the time the storyline aligning with her having this imaginary Beyonce beef. I also remember Carrie Hilson having hits after that. So the idea that her career
It
stopped,
didn't end her career.
it did not end her career. Her
Yeah.
biggest hit was on the next album, if I'm not mistaken. But it's silly.
Yeah.
It's dumb. They're all so rich. Esther Dean is so rich. She's so
Yeah.
rich.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm thinking even more than Carrie and Esther and Beyonce. I'm thinking about the Polo to Don of it all. And there's always been this image of producers, executives, male, all male, being, not to oversimplify, being toxic
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. And, you know, much in line with the way that politics has evolved over the last couple of years, it's like you think you made all this progress, but actually the shit that you thought was kind of going away, like it's back in full force, like herpes.
Yeah.
You know,
Ah, yeah. Well, you know what though? When you talk about generations and coming from different eras, I grew up on that era. Those are the people that I idolized that made me want to come into the industry. And a lot of the people that I worked with when I initially got to LA were of that era or trickled down from there. I'm talking about that era of singer-songwriters and producers. A lot of them were really, really toxic. And it was sad to see the long-term effects of that, how people thought. Even that idea of not putting two women in a session, that was very old thinking that dated from that time.
right?
The way that certain producers did splits. Like I remember a producer fully used the sample in a song. He chose the sample, put it in a song, asked me to co-write to it. Didn't use any of the sample in the top line, but when the people came back and asked for their splits, he took it out of our half and was just like, "That's how I do business," because he was the big producer. So the group, I don't want to say their name, but they came back and they asked for 30%. So that last whatever was left, he made us split that with him, and we're like, "But wait a minute!" But that's the toxicity from that era, and a lot of the dating the producers and all of the really fucked up shit. That don't ask about your splits and don't do this, and that's all from that era. I remember when it was cool for Esther Dean and Carrie to talk about how Cola made them sleep on the floors or whatever. I feel like Esther told a story about sleeping on the floor. That's shit that I'm glad is gone,
Right.
or at least on its way out, because so many people who still subscribe to that. And it's like those women succeeded, God bless them, but they are very rare cases. More people went the Money Long route before she's Money Long, but
Right.
went the Priscilla Renee route of like almost kind of crashing out and like this shit ain't making sense. So I'm glad that it's getting exposed. I wish that more of the focus with that story was on Polo and the politics and Timbaland, because Timbaland, I love Timbaland, was one of my heroes. But the more they let Timbaland talk on TikTok Live, the more I realized this man has a lot of trauma,
Dude,
a lot of
yeah.
great beef from that era. So I don't know.
It's crazy. What do you look for these days in a collaborator?
Man, I pour a lot into the people I collaborate with because I care. I try to create opportunities, share resources. So I think I just more than anything else value people who can reciprocate that truly. Like let's show up, no egos, and let's also really do our best to get music wherever we want it to be, really working together. So every partnership's not gonna be 50-50, but I'll take a good like 40-60. Is that math? Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
I mean, nothing in life is ever going to be truly 50-50.
right. But
You
but yeah, that's really what I care about most. How can we really maximize on what we have together and just be more successful? That's all I care about. So to me, he's the best collaborator. You show up and we put everything on the table, and we're like, all right, let's fucking run this up. Let's figure it out.
Right. And it does feel like, whether it's again through your work as a musician or through your work as an A&R, you're centering queer artists and queer artists of color. Presumably that's a conscious decision on your part.
Always rooting for
And
everybody black and gay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And uh, I can't imagine anybody like you're not getting any blowback from that at all.
No, even going into meta, it was cool because I try to lead with who I am always, just to let people know, because I know how I show up in the world, and you know as well as a man who doesn't show up visibly queer. Sometimes people try to use this as a safe space to say some wild shit, and it's like nah, nah. And obviously none of that is present at my workplace, but I show up more intentional to avoid that. So when I got the opportunity to manage artists and I got the roster, I saw that two of the artists that I got were queer, and that made me happy to just see that they kind of put two and two together. Like, we think you would understand these two artists. I was like, fair,
Right.
I do. And even with people that I've tried to bring on since, because I got in and inherited artists that were already in the program, and then I'm bringing on artists myself. So yeah, I try to just be intentional, just read the room and see where there's opportunity. And now that I am being given access to such bigger platforms that I could have ever imagined, like Meta is one of the biggest platforms in the world, where else can I shine a light? Even places where I may not be the most knowledgeable. Like, we had a conversation yesterday about Africa, and not even just Afro beats, that's one genre, but African genres and artists on the continent. And I brought up a friend of mine. I was like, I have a friend who manages artists in these genres. I would consult her before I sit here and say, these are the top genres. I know I'm piano and Afrobeat, but I would
Right.
consult this girl. Like, she gets it, and finding opportunities to even shine a light on other areas that aren't necessarily my expertise. But that feels super important to me because you get into these spaces and everybody does the best they can, but it is always going to be a majority of one type of person, one type of story. The A&R before me was an older man in his 60s, well, not Nashville based, but the big Nashville community, Berkeley community. So a lot of his people that he brought on just kind of were from that world,
Right.
were older, white, established producer houses and songwriter folks, and he understood that world. But I'm here, I'm trying to bring on some black folks, bring on some
Yeah.
queer folks, and bring on just the faces that they weren't able to see before.
And that's
That's super important to me.
I've been thinking a lot, obviously because of current events, about queerness and how we show up and what it means to see varied expressions of queer.
Mm,
And, you know, as someone who generally does not flag queer, I'm like, okay, it's not really natural to me to present as stereotypically queer than I am. That feels inauthentic to me in a lot of ways. But at the same time, if I walk into a room, particularly if I walk into a room with a bunch of straight people, I don't want them to assume that I'm straight. And this is like a big, lofty, fucking, like mind bending shit. I want people to understand that queer looks like a million and one different things, the same way black looks like a million and one different things. I mean, in blackness, you can't hide that, right? That's something that you wear on you. Queerness can be more, it's not immediately visible. Um,
mhm.
and I'm kind of at a weird place because it's like, okay, I don't think the average straight person, and quite honestly, I don't know if a lot of queer people necessarily accept the idea that queer can look like any fucking thing, you know. And again, it does cause me a little bit of conflict because I'm like, if I'm walking into a space, do I need to fag it up a little bit? You know, it's a really interesting conundrum. And I feel like you would relate to that
Yeah,
in some
but,
ways.
yeah.
And how do you navigate that? What's your thought process?
I've definitely come to a healthier place with it. Again, I think having work that's fulfilling and creating pathways for myself has given me a lot of room to breathe and not take things so personal. But for a
Sure.
long time, I did take it very personal. But I took it personal because I think I was moving in my ego for a while. Like, I think I got into the industry and I saw very quickly what it was designed like for more visibly queer people and how they were on all the mood boards and all the references, but not really in the rooms. And I was like, I'm gonna be the one. I'm gonna be the big brother to bring everybody in. And I learned very quickly that a lot of queer people didn't want to be brought in because these, again, were industries that have stolen from them for a long time, or they just didn't feel safe. And then as I started to build safety in communities, I started realizing just other things that we've been dealing with externally from the music industry of just how queer men build friendships and a lot of the value systems. And I remember even attending the GLAD Summit and having a moment there, really feeling like I didn't align with the type of queerness that was being celebrated there. I remember after the event seeing the images and feeling like I'm not in any of the pictures. Everybody that dressed sparkly is in all the pictures, and everybody who had a more extreme expression of gender was in the pictures. And I had to get out of my ego and realize, no, I wasn't in the pictures because I was shrinking. I wasn't in the pictures because I was kind of keeping to myself. I wasn't in the pictures because I wasn't really being outgoing. And I wasn't in the pictures because I wasn't looking for safety as much as I was looking to be seen, looking to be validated. And not safety, but looking for just a place that felt more where I could feel seen, I guess.
Hmm.
And coming out of that and trying to remove my ego from it and really owning like this is how I show up. And you said something earlier about appearing more gay or something like that. I feel like I've even done that in some of my music. Like I think there were times where I thought there was such a lane for me as a queer artist. Like I'm good at music and all these queer artists are terrible. So I'm gonna just show up and be really good. And I'm gonna try to show up even more visibly queer. And those times are cool because I do feel like I got to experiment and learn who I am and what I'm not and all of that. But I come out of all of it just self-reflecting and saying, what do I really want? What do I really, really want when I have these discussions? What do I really, really want when I'm trying to show up? What do I really, really want when I say I want to bring on more queer people? And it goes back to why I reached out to you the first time and why we've kept in touch. Everybody's not going to make sense, but the first time you and I had a conversation, I was like, oh, he understands where I'm from. We understand each other's references. That is what's most important, is just not feeling alone, feeling seen and creating space for people to feel seen. And just because you fit a larger group doesn't mean you're going to make sense at every aspect of that group. And there are going to be people who are more accessibly fit the mold, and that's okay because that's just life. That's the nature of
Totally.
life. But yeah, I've been really just trying to maneuver that with authenticity and with the intention of I just want to build genuine connections. I don't want to connect with people and feel afterwards like I don't really fuck with that person or whatever. Like, why did they get all of this? And I say this from a space of trying to learn through all of that. Like, I don't think I'm better or worse than anybody at it. I think I definitely
Sure.
got a lot of work to do. And I've got a lot of creative and career and community wounds that I'm working through from years of feeling unseen and underappreciated and stuff. So I don't know. You know what's funny? Actually, tonight my job had a queer happy hour, and I felt some of that come up because as I showed up to the thing, I sat at the wrong table, and then I sat at the right table, and I saw people coming up, and in my head, I was like, they're looking at me like, what's he doing here? He's not gay enough. I was like, it's not that serious. Like, I'm here at the fucking table with a flag. If it doesn't process for them, it's not my
That's
business.
right. It's not on
Fucking here.
on you. It's on them. Right.
Right. Like, I don't have to be more queer to be accept. I shouldn't have to be. And if I feel like that, go somewhere else
Right.
or build my own place, create my own
That's what's up.
chat or some shit. So that's kind of how I've been maneuvering it. But definitely, I'm learning to unravel the identity politics from all the other shit that I've tied it to. And it's a lot.
And I don't know. I posted this morning on Instagram about and on my Substack about being broken people. And I don't know. Speaking of wild shit in the news, I read the Kanye post from a couple days ago.
Jesus Christ.
And as much as I am very much on team not fucking with this dude, I felt sad a little bit because here is somebody who is like broken, broken, broken. And I think because of a combination of enablers and stubbornness, lack of self awareness, which is weird because when he came out, he seemed like he was super fucking self aware, and the ability to sort of shield himself from real world consequences. It seems like he's amplified the brokenness, but now this brokenness is starting to come out in all sorts of weird, fucked up ways, which is what people do when they repress, right? When you deal with stuff and you repress it and you repress it and you repress it and you don't deal with it, it's not going to go away. It's going to come out of you, but it's going to come out of you in unhealthy ways. And I feel like that's what we're seeing right now with him. And, I just thought about the concept of us all being broken, coming from broken lineages, which as people of color, I think we all do. People of color in America specifically, I think we all do. Potentially spreading that brokenness if we decide to procreate, all of this other stuff. And it's just like, damn, how do we get more people to recognize their brokenness, acknowledge it, work on it, and do better? You
Hmm.
know, and that was kind of like the synopsis of that. And one reason I think you and I are friends is because you come from a place of being like, all right, I'm damaged in some ways, but I'm willing to do the work to move forward from that. I don't know if the damage ever gets fully healed, but to at least confront it and begin a process of healing.
Yeah, and being able to reinforce those tools that help us when we slip, when we feel inadequate. I appreciate you bringing him up because even what you said earlier about him appearing like somebody early on in his career that was so conscious, and that almost reminds me of what I was saying about wanting to be like this cool gay artist of like, I think it was less about him being conscious and more about him seeing a lane that was open,
Mm.
and he threw himself down that lane, and
It was
unfortunately he got rewarded for it.
right. So it's calculated, you think?
I think it was calculated, and you can tell because at every moment, he's a very calculated person, and every moment he shows his colors of no matter how selfless the act is, it's almost like that look to camera and smile, like you see what I did. It's the George Bush doesn't like white people. It's the
Mm-hmm.
running up on stage. There's always a moment where he cracks, and it's like, oh, this is for you. This isn't for anybody else. You can say it's for your kids, for your mom, for this type of art, but at every moment it's for you. It's always going to show because the applause is never enough. You want more. You want more. You need more. So I'm grateful. Again, I'm acknowledging being a broken person or a flawed person. I'm grateful that every time I've tried to succeed in a way that wasn't authentic, I failed miserably. Because had any other version of me gotten what they wanted, I would probably be a piece of shit. Because you get what you want and you run. If you want something so bad and you finally get it, you're not thinking, what the fuck did I do to get this? You got it. And I remember meeting so many people in the entertainment industry in LA who had gotten success so quickly at young ages or just at their first bat out the gate without really getting to figure out who they are, process who they are, what they want, what their intentions are. So it just, that immediate success or quick success, it just reinforces it. Reinforces whatever the lie is that you're telling yourself, or you start to sell yourself on like, this is the only way that this is going to work for me. I have to keep doing this. And I remember encountering a lot of that and just reflecting it back on myself and saying, well, shit, I don't know. I don't want to win for that because then I got to keep doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And that might not be authentic with who I am. But again, only able to reflect on that because I don't like the word failed, but I wasn't able to accomplish what I wanted under those contexts. So I would have to pivot. And in the pivot, I have to be like, well, what do I really want? Why do I really want to do this? What is my goal? What is my aim? How does it benefit me? And bringing it back to the queerness, I do think a lot of it was me seeing an opportunity, me wanting to be comfortable, of course, but me also seeing a lane of like, I can really thrive in this space. Like
Mm.
they need me. I'm the one. I think fuck
The
that.
savior of queer music.
Yeah, essentially. Like I'm
Sure.
gonna come through and be the whatever the fuck. And it was like, no, no. If anything, like, you need to really go build your own shit. And at every stage, I've been reminded of that. And it's humbling, but it's also encouraging because it does feel like my life's work to continue to look at the parts of me that I don't feel reflected in the world and find those people. It does feel more and more like just a life calling of like, who else doesn't feel seen? Okay. And not for us to get together and bitch about it, but let's just get together and see each other. Let's
Right.
fucking
Right.
encourage each other. Let's uplift
Let's
each
help
other.
each other. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you had a birthday recently.
Yeah.
Happy birthday. Happy belated.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um,
Appreciate it.
how does it feel to reach this next chapter? Every year feels like is a new chapter. Yeah, I mean, what does it feel like to kind of like look back at the year and be like, okay, I leveled up, I'm still here. People who don't celebrate birthdays to me are kind of weird. And I had a therapist once, a white therapist, who was like, every black person I meet goes real, real hard on their birthday. And I was like, that's because we don't always get the amount of birthdays that we deserve.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of curious for you, A, how you celebrate it, and B, how you feel about moving up to this next level.
Yeah. Birthdays for me, I've gone through the gambit of trying to go really hard every year. Then I had a couple of years where it didn't really go the way I wanted, so I think I kind of got discouraged. I think the last 2 years I worked through my birthday. Like I've just kind of always whatever. So this year I was like, I'm going to do something for my birthday, and I went to Puerto Rico for a week. I put out a song, and then I went to Puerto Rico for a week. Those are kind of the things that I did for my birthday. And what I wanted from my birthday this year was a chance to reflect. I wanted a chance to look back on the last year because it has been a really good year for me, and just reassess my intentions, reset them, or just affirm the ones that I wanted to keep up with. But yeah, just reflecting. I think going to Puerto Rico was cool because like I'm Dominican, I'm from the Bronx, so Puerto Rican culture is not very much too far off from what essentially what raised me, along with being black and Dominican and being from the Bronx. But it was a chance to go somewhere that felt familiar but wasn't home.
Right.
So it was just a nice middle ground of like, I know this music, I know these people, I know this food, but I don't know this city. And yeah, that's kind of been it. I mean, I think I've been in a state of reflection the entire time because my birthday was a Friday, and I think that Sunday I had to go to a video shoot that morning for a song I wrote, and then assisted with social media, and then went to a recording session, and went to a listening session, and it was like, oh, I'm literally getting to do all the things that I like to do on my birthday weekend, and I'm going on a trip, and I'm releasing a song. I'm getting everything I want. So let me just sit with that and not be weird and be like, it's all about to go away.
I mean,
So
that's
that's
true
where I'm
because
at.
a lot of times when things are good, we panic like this is going to be the only opportunity that I have to experience this joy.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I've gotten really good at not being that person anymore, but he still lingers there. Like I've definitely done a lot of work around scarcity, but yeah, I was intentional about making sure I went away for this birthday, and even going to Puerto Rico. Like I didn't really party. I'm not really a partier like that. I don't drink as much as I used to, so I spent a lot of the trip at the pool, eating good food,
Chilling.
just really chill. Yeah, like really lax, chilling, taking pictures. And I needed that. I needed to just be reminded of like, I control the pace now. I'm the captain now. I've got the reins of my life. If I don't want to let go, I don't have to. It's not completely, yes, some things are out of our control, of course. But I can control what's going on up here. And, taking a break is me exercising that control. Being creative is me exercising that control. So I got to exercise all of that in the same week, and it's been good. I'm owning that it doesn't have to be the extreme bumps that I used to have from just the way that I lived my life before because of the career that I chose and the life that I was living. That was a very bumpy life. This feels very smooth. So I'm here for that. That's cool.
So dope. So dope. I want to ask one last question just because this is something that I've been vaguely confused about for at least the last year or two. When I've seen you and when I've spoken to you, you've said partner. And because I'm slow, I'm not sure if you meant business partner or like partner partner.
Both.
Okay.
It's
All
both.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
But no, romantic partner, life partner, and creative partner, business partner, just partner, all the partners. We've been doing a lot of cohabitating and a lot of collaborating. And it's been really, really, really dope to connect with somebody on that level. Like I think I've always dated creative partners, but I don't think I've ever dated somebody that has given me so much space to be my own creative and whatever I am and they be their own. A lot of times in the past, people were like, cool, I'm your manager now. Oh, wait, whoa. But no, yes, romantic partner and creative partner. So yeah.
And it sounds like you are able to successfully sort of navigate the the middle piece of romantic versus creative, where those come together. It sounds like y'all have figured out what works for y'all. But you're still a young cat. How does it feel to sort of be settled into this partnership?
It feels right. Like it makes sense. We were laughing the whole trip because there were nights where we'd be like, "We're going out. We're staying in. Oh,
Oh, you hit
oh,
that
this is
O
my
button,
person.
dog. Yeah,
Like,
man.
oh, this is cool. We both want to stay in. Cool. We cool going back to the same restaurant. Nah, it's dope. I think again, everything really, really makes sense. And I think I do remember actually in the last conversation we had, so I was going on a trip with my friend because we were still getting to know each other.
Mm,
So after experiencing that trip and just collaborating and coexisting, it's been a very natural progression and it feels really healthy. It feels dope to be an example of doing it I don't say the right way because there's no right or wrong way, but doing it
right.
in the healthiest way. Like it feels nothing but healthy and inspiring and creative. So I like it. It makes sense for me. It's fun.
That's the important part of it. It's like you don't have to explain yourself to anybody but yourself.
Fair. Yeah, that's true.
So,
When does this come out?
it'll be a couple weeks. It'll be probably mid-May.
Okay. I'll be
Yeah.
running for president by then, so you
I
guys
mean,
vote for
I'll vote for your ass. Shit.
me.
Please do.
No,
You
I
know.
mean, I'm releasing music constantly. I set a goal this year to release something every month, whether it's something I have on as a lead artist or things that I'm featured on. been good so far. That was more just a personal goal for me, and it's given me a lot of opportunity to just kind of keep bouncing around the car. Like sometimes I'm in the driver's seat, kind of leading the song. Sometimes, so that's how I visualize it. I don't know if
You're
that makes
Alanis
sense.
Morissette in the video. You're in every seat in the car.
You're eager to make us sound very old, and I love that.
It's all good. It's all good. As long as you get the reference, that's
I
all I
got the right.
care about.
You know who Addison Rae is? Now I'm gonna make it sound really old. You know Addison Rae? Okay.
Yeah.
So she's been referencing that era for her album covers and the music, like very Alanis Morissette, at least visually. But the kids keep calling it Y2K, and I'm like, that's not Y2K. They're like, oh, Britney aesthetic, and I'm like,
No.
it's Ray of Light, it's fucking Bjork, it's
What
okay.
are they talking about?
I don't know. It pisses me off. Like if you see her album cover, it's Alanis Morissette's album cover, and they're like, Y2K is back. It was 96,
Yeah,
90,
that's
was
mid '90s,
95.
man. Yeah, Jagged Little Pill came out in '95.
These kids don't know.
We gotta educate the youth.
Got educated. We need to do a music podcast.
Psh, let's go.
I would love to do a music podcast. I was actually thinking about doing it. Now I'm probably going off script, so you can cut
It's
me
all
off
good.
whenever. But
Yeah.
I was gonna do like a rotating panel for just like once a month, get a bunch of music nerds together, me, you, Ty, Amir, and just talk music. So we should definitely
Let's
do that.
go. I mean, I've been looking for excuses to talk more about music, and I was even like contemplating like making an Instagram specifically for my records.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, as much as I love this podcast and the topics of this podcast, I feel like, you know, this stuff can be kind of heavy, and the music stuff is more light. And having that level of heavy and that level of light, even though, part of the duality as humans is that we kind of have all these things, it makes sense to have two separate social media feeds for those. Music is my happy space,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to spend more time indulging that happy space.
Well, let's do it. I've been saying the same thing, especially because I'm in a space now where it's not so life or death.
Right.
Even when we talked earlier about like the new younger stuff, I'm in a space now where like I have space for it. Like I don't have to love it, but I'll listen to New Music Friday and get through a good chunk of it and not want to throw my phone. And I'm like, I'm
Yes,
okay. Like
exactly.
these kids
Exactly.
aren't terrible. I was just broke and miserable,
Right.
and they could still be terrible, but I'm not that sad anymore. So I can get through a yeet. You know who
Let them
yeet
be
is?
that.
I'm here. Let's hang out. Let's do whatever. Like I think it's important because again, like I've been saying, I think when people do see you and acknowledge you and just understand you, it's important to pour into that because a good chunk of the world doesn't even want us to exist or
That's right.
doesn't want to hear from us, doesn't want us to have rights as
Right.
black people, as queer people, as
Yeah.
fucking like you have to pour into those spaces and just the things that feel good, protect them.
Yep. Yo, first of all, thank you, Yanni, for doing this for a third time. I hope to have you back a fourth time. Maybe you, me, and Ty can do like a little group podcast thing happening. I like that idea. Let's make that happen. And just thank you for sharing your wisdom, not just with me, but with all of the people that you mentor. Thank you for creating art and putting it out into the world. If you want to know more about Yanni, he hosts a podcast called Bigger Than Our Dreams. That is bigger with two eyes in it than our dreams. So you should check that out. You can follow him on Instagram at YawnyBlew. That is YawnyBlew. You can obviously find his music on a streaming service near you. He has a Substack, which is yawnyblew.substack.com, and he has a single called I Like It, which is coming out August 25th. And my brain is not working right now, so I can't tell whether this episode will be out before the single or the single actually. This episode will be out a few days before the single. So on Friday, August 25th, I think that's a Friday, make sure that you go on your DSP of choice and stream I Like It by Yawny Blue. Anyway, thanks again, Yanni, for being on the show. You're part of the family. We definitely hope to have you back. Thank you for listening to Detoxicity. I hope you found this particular episode interesting. And if you are new, I hope you go back and listen to all of the older episodes. Once again, my name is Mike Joseph. I am the host and producer of this show. And there are a lot of things that you can do to continue to support our mission, continue to support this podcast. Follow me on social media. I am on Instagram, Twitter, and I'm on TikTok as DetoxPod Guy. You can also send me an email if you'd like. I'm at detoxpod@gmail.com. I am always on the hunt for people with interesting, inspirational, and powerful stories. So if you know somebody who fits that bill, or if you yourself fit that bill, please don't hesitate to drop me a line via email or via social media. Please make sure you subscribe on your podcast platform that you're listening to this on. Rate, comment, help a brother out, help us move up in the rankings. Follow me on social media. Like I said, follow our Patreon, or subscribe to my Patreon, actually. Patreon.com/detoxicitypod. You get access to exclusive episodes. You get episodes a little earlier than the general public. You get a cool ass sticker, lots of stuff. Once again, patreon.com/detoxicitypod. Quick shout out to Calvin Williams for providing the music and doing his magic on the logo, which was originally designed by Jacob Block. I thank you all for listening. I wish you all the best. Please take care of each other. Till next time, peace.